All characters in this are fictional. Hey, William, how are you?
I'm okay.
You alright? Okay, how has your week been? I haven't seen you since last Friday.
Um, Kind of stressful. I
Kinda
mean,
stressful.
it's okay. The same, but a little bit more stressful, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get started, I just wanted to remind you about what informed consent was, and I know we talked about that last time we met. Do you remember what that means?
Kinda. Can you remind me?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a mandated reporter, so everything that we say in this room is confidential unless it has something to do with I'm worried that you're going to harm yourself or harm someone else. Then I have to tell somebody.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then last week when we met, we came up with 2 goals together. And one of those goals was you going to a Tuesday after school tutoring session
Mhm.
because we were worried about grades and mom and dad were kind of on you about getting your grades up.
Yep.
And then the other one was studying for 2 nights a week for 30 minutes for a history exam. So can you tell me a little bit about how those goals went, if you met them?
I met well, I'll start with what I did. I didn't meet the 30 minutes
Okay.
twice a week. I couldn't do that. It was
Okay.
just, I don't know.
A little daunting.
Yeah, I'm not very good at studying, and when I do study, I don't even know if it's even working. So I don't really like to study too much.
So in the future, if we made a studying goal, would it help if it was a little bit more specific on maybe what to study,
Yeah, like,
how to study,
Mhm.
and maybe having someone to study with you so you have more
yes,
of a guide? Okay.
yes,
We
definitely.
can talk about that. And then what about your other goal about the tutoring?
Yeah, I went to a tutoring session, and it did help a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. You met one of your goals and you found it helpful, so that's what matters.
Right.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about how this week has went, how the tutoring maybe affected your grade?
Sure. I mean, we have, we have a lot of homework, and like the other students in my classes, they just seem to catch up on everything really, really fast, and
Okay.
then the teacher will covers new stuff, and they just get it really fast, and it doesn't make sense to me, and then I feel kind of intimidated to ask any questions because all the other students already know everything,
Okay.
and I just, I don't know, and then I just kind of go to myself, and then I stop paying attention in class, which makes things even worse.
Right. And then does that stress you out later?
Yeah, definitely. And then when I start doing the homework, and it's like I don't understand it because I wasn't paying attention in class, and I wasn't understanding the material, and
Right.
I just keep getting a little further behind. And then when I and I try to study, I don't know what I'm studying, and nothing makes sense. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so it sounds to me like a little bit like you have so many anxious thoughts that it's kind of prohibiting your focus on what you need to be
Yes.
focusing on for studying or for schoolwork. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do today, we're actually going to be using a strategy from something called cognitive behavioral therapy. Have you heard about that before ever?
No,
No?
it sounds really cool.
Okay, it is pretty cool. So basically, and you know this as being a 14-year-old, how we think influences what we do, right? So when you're really anxious about schoolwork, it's hard for you to study, right? It's hard for you to perform an action when your thoughts are racing, right? So what CBT focuses on is getting a hold of those thoughts so that we have better behaviors that follow, okay? So can you think of a time that you were very confident about either a test or something that had to do with school and you did really well on it because you were confident, you had less anxiety?
Yeah.
Can you think of a time that happened?
I don't know if this counts, but when we go to PE and I play kickball, I am really good at kickball, so I always do really, really well. And like the outfielders know to back up when I'm up to kick because they know I'm gonna kick it really far. And I don't know, it's just easy, and I like it. I don't know.
And do you think when you went up to kick the ball, do you think if you were really anxious about it, you would be able to kick it as far or no?
No, I'd probably do really bad.
Right, so that's what we want to start shifting into your other schoolwork for subjects like history or math. We want to get your thoughts confident so that you feel confident about your test, and then you'll see your grades reflect your confidence. Okay?
That sounds great.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit of a worksheet. Okay? I know you're in school, so this might not seem like the most exciting thing, but working through and explaining kind of what's going on in your brain and your thoughts are going to help them be more, or your actions make sense.
Okay. Sure.
So at the top, it's just talking about how anxiety can be a healthy emotion. It forces us to focus on our problems and work hard to solve them. But sometimes anxiety grows out of control and does just the opposite. It cripples our ability to solve problems. When this happens, irrational thoughts often play a role. So does that seem like something you could relate to? You get anxious and then you maybe doubt your ability, things like that?
Irrational, yes.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about your kind of like the first negative thought that comes to your mind, something that really stays in your head and prohibits you to be confident in your ability to work or focus on schoolwork, okay? And we're going to describe a common situation that triggers your anxiety. So, for example, someone maybe could get triggered by the idea of giving a speech. That could make them super anxious, or driving in rush hour traffic. So for you, what's a situation that makes you anxious?
When the teacher goes over something new, and I have no idea, it doesn't make sense to me at all.
Okay.
That makes me very anxious.
Okay, so when teacher goes over something new, and you feel like you don't grasp it yet.
Yeah,
right?
I just don't understand it.
You don't understand it. Okay. So then, anxiety distorts our thinking by causing us to overestimate the likelihood of something going wrong, right? So when you're super anxious about maybe a math test you have coming up, are you confident that you'll get an A? If you're really anxious about it?
Oh, no.
No.
If I'm really anxious about it, no.
Right. So we're going to look at this and see. So imagine you're faced with your anxiety-producing situation from above, okay? We're going to talk about, have you ever thought about, or has anyone ever said to you, what's the worst that can happen in this situation? So that's kind of what we're going to work through.
Okay. Sounds good.
So imagine you're faced, your teacher, you have that happening, right? What's the worst that could happen when that occurs in your classroom?
I mean, the teacher probably calling on me, and then I don't know the answer.
So maybe feeling embarrassed in front of your classmates? Okay. Embarrassment. Okay. What about the best outcome? So say this happens, what's the best outcome that could be possible for you?
I just understand the material, I guess.
Okay. Understand the material. All right, and what is a likely outcome? So I know that this has happened before, right? And that's why it gives you anxiety.
Right.
So what's likely to happen, actually, when that situation that gives you anxiety occurs?
I either stop paying attention the rest of the class because I just get lost, or I just don't, or I just feel like embarrassed to ask a question to follow up and see if I could try to understand, because it seems like all the other students understand everything.
Okay. Has it ever happened to you before where you don't understand it at first, but if you stick with it, in a few minutes, you can kind of start to grasp what the teacher's saying?
Kind of.
Has that ever happened to you?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. So how about we say maybe likely outcome is you might tune out, but you also might stick with it and grasp it as the minutes progress. Does that make sense? Okay.
Sure.
Tune out, might progress. Okay. So then imagine that the worst outcome comes true. Okay, we're going to bring it back and kind of facing this anxiety, okay? So the teacher calls on you, you don't know the answer, right? And you're embarrassed.
Yeah.
Would it still matter in 1 week from that time? No. Why wouldn't it matter?
Because no one's really going to remember that. It's not really that important.
Yeah, no one will remember. And you'll have had a lot of things happen in between them too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what about a month later?
Oh, definitely.
Not gonna care.
Not at all. No one's even gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna matter.
Not gonna care. Okay, what about 1 year from now?
I would have forgotten it.
Forgot. Okay, does it kind of help to see when these things are laid out? Does it help you to kind of realize, okay, not to get so overwhelmed when you're first learning something new? Do you think sometimes you get caught up in the worst outcome, like, oh my God, the teacher could call me, I could be embarrassed, I don't even want to pay attention, I don't want to look like I'm paying attention so she won't call on me, and you have all those thoughts racing through your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just the likely outcome that if you really just sat there, paid attention, you would probably grasp it by the end of the lesson.
Yeah, that's
right?
definitely much better outcome.
Yeah. Is doing this, do you think that that's kind of helpful for you to look at everything on a page?
Yeah, definitely.
Process through that?
Definitely. I think this part is the most helpful, just knowing that the likely outcome, it's more real.
Bad, right?
Yeah, it's more realistic than what I'm thinking of, and just being scared of the teacher calling on me.
Right. So we just have one more step on this worksheet. Okay. So it just says using your own worst outcome, so that would be embarrassment, and likely outcome from above, which would be that you would probably just progress. What would be an irrational thought?
An irrational thought?
Yeah, so let's do that with the embarrassment one. So now that we've worked through it, what is an irrational thought that first goes on in your head?
Maybe like the other students like really judging me.
Okay.
That I don't know
the
this stuff.
Students, because it's possible that they don't understand it either, right?
Right.
Okay, so the other students.
But I'm too scared to even ask because I'm scared that they're just gonna think I'm dumb.
Right. So the other students could judge. Yeah. Would be the irrational thought, or are judging, because that's the irrational thought. Okay, and what would a rational thought be? Kind of like what you just talked about.
Yeah, the other students are just as lost as me.
Yeah. Do your teachers ever tell you that no question is a dumb question?
Yeah, they
right.
always tell me that.
Yeah. Understand as well. Okay. So we talked about how you get anxious when you don't know something new and you don't want to get called on and be embarrassed, right? That was kind of the negative, anxious thought running through your head. And then we talked about how that has kind of propelled you to just kind of tune out, not pay attention, and then therefore be lost the entire lecture, right, from your teacher. So now that we've worked through this, do you think that a different outcome could be possible now that maybe you're not as anxious when you might not understand things at first?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as long as I think that like the teacher's not gonna call on me and make me feel embarrassed in front of the what's more likely, if I were to continue and pay attention, I'm going to get the material. And then if she does call me, I'll know it a little bit, and I won't look dumb or anything.
Right.
As long as I continue to think like that instead of like, oh my God, I'm so scared.
Right.
It would be much better.
Right.
It would be much, much better.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so we're running out of time. So for next week, I'm going to send you home with one of these worksheets, the Challenging Anxious Thoughts worksheet. Okay. And because I know, like you said earlier, that sometimes when you're studying, you get anxious, and it helps you, or it makes you not want to focus, and those kind of things. So when that arises, I want you to put that down on paper and to kind of work through that like we did. Does that sound like something you can do?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll leave you with that, and then because we talked about the goal of studying was still kind of difficult.
Yeah.
How about we say for our goal for next week would be to complete the worksheet, and we'll go over it together next week, and then also attending another tutoring session on Tuesday. Would that be reasonable? Okay, awesome. I will see you next week.
Great, thank you.